What is going on, everybody? What is going on? Hello, 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 hello. How are we all doing? How are we all doing today? We doing okay? All right. Oh, shit. What did I just do? All right. There we go. There we go. There we go. Yeah. I'm slightly early. I know. But that is not a huge deal. We don't have to lower my late point counter or anything because of that. East Blue says, I'm getting high and cooking before the stream starts. I remember one time, I think this was like 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. I asked you guys, I think we did a poll of how many of you all watch my streams while high. And I think it was a surprisingly high percentage, High percentage, haha. Enough ads already? What ads? There's no ads. All right. Oh, fuck. Check Twitter. Oh, fuck. Check Twitter. All right, let's see. What's TomTom saying? I just don't use Twitter as much now. All right, TomTom says... Hold on. Ah. Yeah, okay, TomTom, let me respond to you about this afterwards. For those of you who don't know, I'm sure I can share this. TomTom is creating a website that would consolidate all pages for a One Piece fight. This is a great idea in my opinion. So basically, for example, if you want to read just all of Luffy versus Kaido in order without interruptions, you would be able to just have it all in one place. That would be also remarkably helpful for me because need to compile images and such, for different things. So I would find that useful as well. So here, let me add this into notes for myself. Here. I'll get to that ideally today after stream. Wow, he's on time. It's not impressive that I'm on time. I'm almost always on time. It's not a huge deal. Or at the very least, I'm always almost on time. I'm always almost on time. I guess that's a more accurate way to say it. There was a stretch. You guys remember the stretch back when I was really trying to avoid any late points? When I was really trying to avoid any late points because we're almost at the 150 mark, I was good for like a long time. I was good for like months. It was an amazing run. Is there a chance the site gets taken down though? Hazard saying, do you need to make a site to do that? A simple drive folder will do. A site is just way better for user experience, Like, yeah, people compile things and put them in drives and stuff, but it's not fun to go through a Google Drive for that, A site just feels clean and easy. It's the difference between like if TCB uploaded a new chapter in a bunch of Google Drive pages, or I could just go to the site and click on TCB stuff, I click through the chapter. Yeah, let's get stream likes up to 50 real quick. Let's get stream likes up to 50. Moj, who do you think gave Roger the straw hat? I don't know if it's a special straw hat. Like, is that straw hat definitely a special straw hat? I don't know about that. One Piece fan 74, thanks for the 5. I was relieved when Oda gave Imu a spear instead of a sword. Completely sidestepped that fiasco. Yeah, Oda knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing when he gave Whitebeard a spear and when he gave Imu a spear. But that means that low-key, right? Low-key, the world's strongest spearman is stronger than the world's strongest swordsman, right? Like, that's a more impressive title if you're the world's strongest spearman, right? Because then you got Imu in there, you got Whitebeard in there, right? This is a pretty, this is like a real debate. You know what I'm saying? Who else has spears? Who else has spears? How many characters in One Piece are strong with spears? Hold on. Hold on a second. Look at this. Look at this. It's not a spear. It's a glaive, which is a type of blade. Joy Boy has a spear. But it's, I mean, but it's on a long stick, right? Isn't the blade itself, I guess, that? But yeah, it's not really a sword. It's just not a sword, you know? Like, you could argue it's just splitting hairs, but it's not, you know? Hannibal? World's strongest clubman? Yeah, let's do this. All right, hold on. I'm just curious. Yeah, what are we looking at here? So, here we go. Strongest swordsman. Right? Strongest swordsman. We've got, because people will get too upset if I do all the rankings, right? Not because Mihawk's obviously number one, but if you do all the rankings, then it's like, this is unranked, right? This is just general. You had Big Mom. We had Fujitora. We had Green Bull. We had, who else was top? Oh, Shamrock, right? Shamrock's in there. Right? This is a good bunch. Shamrock. And then you get to like Yonko Commanders, right? There's nobody else that really matters here. King, Shiryu, Vista, stuff like that. Fucking Sommers, Rayleigh, for sure. Right? There's a lot. There's a lot of people in here. Rayleigh. Who am I missing? Garling. Rayleigh, Garling. Who else is there? Rayleigh, Garling, Sommers. I feel like I'm missing some commander type characters. We got Shiryu in there. We got King. I feel like that's good. Harold. Those are dead characters, right? Big Mom we're only including because not technically confirmed dead. She's like in the world in a state, right? Cavendish. I don't think Cavendish is not even. I don't think Cavendish is even necessarily like, maybe he's scraping Tobiropo level. Yeah, these are dead characters. All right. Okay. Oh, Smoothie. Sure, let's throw Smoothie in there. Beckman. Is Ben Beckman a swordsman? Is that confirmed? I feel like Ben Beckman, we got some indication he's a swordsman. Am I crazy? Brook doesn't make the cut. We're talking commander level or up, you know? Is Ben Beckman a swordsman? Was that ever confirmed? Big Mom's crew, I guess Cracker. No, he has guns. Yeah, but he cuts kids' arm off. So that means, like, we saw him fight once with a gun against Fodder. We saw him pull a gun on Kizaru. Off screen, he used a sword against Kid. Sommers is not stronger than Brook. Sommers is, like, way stronger than Brook. Come on now. That's insane. Sommers has just lost to strong characters, but it was made very clear that, like, Sommers fucks up characters like Robin and Saul and stuff like that. Law is a swordsman. Yeah. Brook is low-key crazy, though. No, Brook doesn't actually have any... I would be surprised if Brook could defeat a Tobiropo. Let's put it that way. The Brook's feats right now do not suggest, like, he doesn't have any 1v1 wins. Brook tanked Imu? He really didn't. Yeah, the Sommer's disrespect is insane. It's becoming insane because, like, it's tricky because it's kind of like the Jogo situation in Jujutsu Kaisen because, you know, if you have a character that only loses to really strong characters, then you get the perception that they're weak, you know? We did technically see Sommer's wins. Like, he fucked up Robin and Saul in them, you know? And I think the fact alone that Gaban... It took Gaban a bit of a fight to take down Sommers is pretty significant, you know? Kaku? I don't know if Kaku's commander level. Okay, let's leave it here, right? Now, let's compare. Strongest spearmen. All right. We got Imu. We got... Well, Whitebeard's dead. And we said we wouldn't count dead characters. So I guess the list just ends here. So it was kind of a futile exercise. This was stupid. Because after Imu, it's what? Killing him? If you got a trident? Right? Then it's just killing him. Oh, Zoro. I fucking forgot Zoro. How come you guys were yelling at me about Brook when I hadn't even put Zoro in there? What the fuck? What the hell? Sai, you're right. Sai has a spear, although for some reason his kicks are more important. Judge. Weevil. We got a lot of strong spearmen. Oh, shit. Zoro got punked so bad he doesn't even make the list. Katakuri? Yeah. Oh my god. We're going to count tridents as spears. It functionally is almost the same thing. This is not bad. I feel like low-key there should be a world's strongest spearman situation. And then, you know, not long ago, like 2 years ago, let's say Whitebeard. You know what? Let's do the list based off of from the last 2 years. Okay, so not old era, but if you're alive over the course of the main story of One Piece. So ever since the Straw Hat's journey began. All right? Then it's kind of interesting. Hannibal. Shiki. Shiki uses swords, though. Shiki, I think, goes here. Oh, no, it's not swords, is it? Right, doesn't he use two swords? He uses two swords. Shiki uses two swords. King Neptune. Sure, let's put Neptune. Neptune's very weak, though. I think Neptune's too weak to include. Captain Joe Mama says Odin. We're saying from the last 2 years, over the course of the story of One Piece, right? Is Katakuri spearman if he throws it away on a win? Zoro would never. Then how did Zoro defeat the groggy monsters? You know what's funny, by the way? So, the thing about Katakuri with this is like just a little bit of like, once you see it, you can't unsee it. The only reason Oda wrote Katakuri having a spear was because he needed Katakuri to have a weapon for the scene where he impales himself, you know? Because that scene is very important to Katakuri's character. That's the scene that establishes that Katakuri is like a fair man and like a respectable fighter, and that this is an honorable duel rather than like Luffy versus Doflamingo or some shit. So it totally changes your perspective on Katakuri as a character. Sometimes I think Oda writes characters with a certain scene in mind. Like Oda very clearly came up with the concept of the character Odin based off of, and like wrote the entire character's concept around him because he wanted to get to the boiling scene, right? So Oda sometimes comes up with a scene and then works backwards. I'm not saying that's exactly what he did with Katakuri, but Oda clearly tried to think of a way like he wanted this honorable mirror figure to Luffy, right? So the scene that that best represents who Katakuri is the scene where he stabs himself, right? That's the big scene. None of Luffy's opponents have ever done something like that. You can't write that scene if Katakuri fights exactly like Luffy with just fisticuffs. So at some point it's probably like, wait, I need to give this character a weapon. I'm not really going to have him use it that much in battle. He's mostly going to fight with fists for the most part against Luffy, because the idea is that Luffy and Katakuri, they're fighting style is a mirror of one another. But Oda was like, well, I need him to have some fucking weapon so that he can stab himself. It doesn't work without that weapon. So then I think he gave him a trident for that. Sorry, let me catch up on supers real quick. What the hell? Sorry, let me refresh this. Okay, sorry, let me catch up on supers. Okay. Henchme987, thanks for me Yonko tier member for 4 months, man. New prediction, Oda wants to retire, so Imu's defeated this arc, and the story ends with the adventure continues panel like many Axe series do. That would be insane. One Piece is the one series where I'm like certain beyond all else that Oda is not going to abandon it. There's just too much time and passion put into it. Because again, with lots of series, when they're heading towards rushing something, like killing it early, you can see the writing on the wall a little bit in advance. Like, you could see it in advance. I remember with Bleach, I always use as the big example. Ending so bad, he had to rewrite the whole thing with the anime. But Bleach, you could tell as it was approaching, not just because Shonen Jump was telling you that, oh, there's only like 10 chapters left, 5 chapters left. It was just like, okay, this is being forgotten, that's being forgotten, yada, yada. Things are being consolidated. This fight is ending in a really weird way, yada, yada, right? One Piece, it's the opposite in that it feels like Oda still takes as much time as he wants for lots of random bullshit if he feels like it. You know what I mean? Like, it does not feel like he's in the mode of, like, I need to cut plot lines and characters out. If anything, it's like, let me add some more shit in, you know? Tom, thanks to 2. Vince spoke Romeo used a spear, I think. Oh, shit. We gotta add in Vince Smoke Romeo. I know he breaks the rule of only in the last 2 years, but no one has proven that Vince Smoke Romeo is actually dead. Rud How, thanks to the 2. We're stretching the definition for a spear here. Yeah, but I think it's okay. That's about the argument. Rud How says, maybe strongest polearm user? Sure. You know what? If that makes it feel better, we can do that. All right. Good point, Rude. Henchme987, thanks to 2. Luffy should at least use spiked knuckles, lol. I think there's an argument that, like, even just the process of learning to apply your haki to a weapon is, that's an additional skill to learn, and maybe you don't like that for your fighting style. For example, Law, despite being a swordsman, is a severely incompetent haki user, right? So Law's never learned how to turn his sword black, right? So clearly it's beyond just being a basic skill. So it's something that you have to put some time into. So I think Luffy using spiked knuckles, it's just not his specialty. He likes using his own fists. Empty Mind 3875, thanks for being a Pirate King. Do you remember for 9 months, man? It's literally impossible for One Piece to have a bad ending. There's no pressure to rush it. Also, so many things would have to go wrong for it to be bad. As long as the Straws have an emotional end, it'll be good. But that right there is an example of like how it could not be a good ending. But I do believe that, the fact that Oda still has, it's a lot of things. One, Oda has the ending very clearly in mind for a long time, so it's not something that he's having to come up with. If anything, he's probably saved his best ideas. 2, it does appear like most character threads, he's got a clear idea of where he wants them all to go for most characters in his world. 3, his passion is still there. That's the big one. The passion is still there for him. So there's no chance of it being rushed or ending early or him kind of like losing his juice. I think those are the big things. Taptia Treviso, thanks to 5. I like how all other spearmen exist so that Imu and Whitebeard have way to not be swordsmen versus Mihawk, even though they definitely have supreme blades. Yeah, they have supreme blades. They're just put on spears instead. Here, let's do this too. This is fun. Strongest blunt weapon user. Because now we got Loki, Kaido, Yamato. We got any others? Empty Mind, thanks for the 2. Emu 100% isn't red skin color scheme with eyes. What do you mean? Red skin color scheme with eyes. I don't know. I don't know what the emu's color scheme is exactly going to be, but red skin could be. I think Lunarian type is correct. Just some guy with naturally wavy hair. Thanks a lot. It's funny how Gabon has seen every major One Piece battle. Yeah, the dude's experienced. I mean, been there up close and personal. Whoops, because he wasn't there for Marineford. But he's witnessed a lot. Tom, thanks to 2. Ben Beckman is a bayonet man. Used it to cut up kid. That'd be funny, because, using a bayonet to cut someone up just feels very awkward. It's better for stabbing. Kakashi Snitch 9. Thanks for 25. Thanks for the 10. Hey Morge, what's your opinion on cats? Do you love them, hate them, and would you ever consider getting one? So it's actually an ongoing debate in our house whether or not we are going to add a cat. Before we were in an apartment. Now we've switched to a house. Still renting, not owning, but we're in a house now for more space. Near where we were before. In the apartment, I was pretty clear, no cat, because we've got 2 dogs, and it's already a little, we don't need a 5th member of the household, right? In the house, we now have more space. We've now got enough space that it's and this neighborhood has a lot of cats. There's cats that wander the streets. They're domesticated cats. They belong to different houses, obviously, but lots of owners in our neighborhood seem to be okay with letting their cats out. So my overall thoughts on cats are, I'm now open to us getting a cat. I would not mind us getting a cat. Do I love them or hate them? I don't have strong feelings towards cats. I just don't see myself loving a cat like I have loved my dog Paco in the past, or the current 2 dogs that I have, Harley and Casey. I think with cats, it's tricky because a lot of people assume that I would be more of a cat person because of the way that my own personality is. But it's kind of funny because it works the opposite way, I think, in the sense that I think I wouldn't... Let's say that I'm a person that's not as, touchy-feely or emotionally, relationally very open, I guess, with people as much, which means that I don't want, if I'm getting a companion pet, I don't want one that is similar to me, where I have to work for affection or something like that in that sense. Or a pet that's somewhat distant, I guess you could say. I like dogs because it's kind of just it just feels so easy. You know what I mean? It just feels so easy. Your dog's always going to love you as long as you give it love, It just feels very nice to have an animal companion that you will just always have as an unconditional source of joy. Not unconditional. You obviously have to treat your dogs very well. But as long as you do so and you show it love and care, it will always return that several-fold. I think that feels really good. With cats, you can do plenty of care for your cats, but then it's up to the cat whether or not it wants to come up and, be affectionate to you. And so I'm I don't want a pet that feels like I have to work for the joys of having the pet. You know what I mean? If a cat's basically a moody teenager, I can wait till I have a moody teenager of my own. That's my feelings. But I respect people who like cats. That's just different strokes for different folks, obviously. Taptio, thanks to 2. Does Emu having red skin mean Zoro versus native race? We know why Zoro attacked Emu on the spot. We know why he had a problem with him right away. That was no mistake. Rude How, thanks to 5. Do you think Oda will regret all those dots he put on Emu's skin the way in Dragon Ball Oda Toriyama hated the dots he put on Cell? It was a bitch to draw. Toriyama did say, I think, at some point that he liked the Super Saiyan drawing because the light hair is easier to draw than Goku's black hair. So it's possible that Oda will regret it, but I have a feeling that we're not going to see Imu fighting so much that it's going to be an issue. Crest Jotaro, thanks for the... And I also imagine, like, you know how Oda is, like, he will go hard for the cool spreads and shots, but I would not be surprised if he doesn't stay consistent with all the dots in lots of the other action scenes, you know? Crest Jotaro, thanks for the 5. Moj, how are you possibly going to do ads for lawyers when you can't hear the word law without going on a 30-minute rant about Big Mom and TNT? It's a challenge, that's for sure. It's a challenge. It's me having to overcome my own demons. Rashab Sony 5835. Imu tried Dami Reversi on Luffy, but why? If regen is not due to Devil Fruit, then what benefits do God's Knights get? What happens to God's Knights' Devil Fruits when they become ELD? If Luffy can create his own omen, why wasn't it shown on the mural? Okay, hold on. Imu tried Dami Reversi on Luffy, but why? If regeneration is not due to Devil Fruits, then what benefits do God's Knights get? What happens to God's Knights' Devil Fruits when they become elders? Okay, this is a lot. Let's break it down. Even tried Dami Reversi on Luffy, but why? Because there's no reason not to test it, you know? Even if he was like, okay, I'm pretty sure this isn't going to work, it took him like 2 seconds to test it, you know? Because if it works, then it's fucking amazing. Then you've got Dami Reversi Nika. There's reasons to test it, like, we don't know ourselves why the Dami Reversi doesn't work. The 2 reasons presumably are, 1, either it doesn't work on the Nika fruit, or 2, it just doesn't work on Devil Fruit users in general, right? Those are the 2 reasons. So, with the unit, it's kind of just like, let me just try and see. And then, you know, if it works, great. If it doesn't work, then, you know, it is what it is. It's like, why does Luffy try punching Smoker pre-time skip, you know? I mean, I guess at a certain point he stopped trying. But you try once, you know? You don't just, like, be like, okay, well, this just isn't going to work. Let me just, if it's right there, you know? It wasted, like, 30 seconds for Imu. It wasn't a big deal. If regeneration is not due to Devil Fruits, then what benefits do God's Knights get? But I thought the regeneration is due to their Devil Fruits. So the God's Knights, the benefits are they get amped fighting power and regeneration, right? What happens to God's Knights' Devil Fruits when they become elders? I feel like Oda might just sidestep that, and it might just be... I feel like the Devil Fruit abilities that the abilities that the Gorosei display are granted by Imu. So I think Oda might just conveniently not have had any of the elders have originally had Devil Fruits before they became elders. You know, like Garling didn't seem to be a fruit user in the past, you know? And so now he's likely going to get his own form. If Luffy can create his own omen, why wasn't it shown on the mural? I don't think Luffy can create his own omen. Are people saying that? I hope he can't. I would rather everyone fight with their own abilities. Also, let's get streamlights up to 50 real quick. Tatio, thanks for the 2. If Blackbeard steals Imu's fruit, will he be a fat ink blob? No, because now I'm leaning towards that the ink blob look of Imu is... just what he's been reduced to due to unknown reasons. Maybe it's got something to do with the eternal youth surgery, having a catch or a drawback or something. I think Blackbeard will look maybe kind of badass with the look that Imu has right now, but just imposed onto Blackbeard. Tom9739, thanks for the 5. That's unfair to Law. By that same token, Sanji hasn't been shown using armament hardening in the manga, only in anime, and Law did a hockey feat like... Big Mom and Kaido with Doc Q. Yeah, against Doc Q, I don't even know where to scale that. It's just he just was like, I'll just counter it with my hockey or whatever, and he just undid Doc Q's ability. But that doesn't say anything about his armament ability. You know, his armament still sucks. And you said by that same token, Sanji has been shown using armament hardening in the manga. Yeah, and that's why I don't think we have any evidence that Sanji right now is particularly good at armament. You know, we don't really have that much evidence for it. That's why it's frequently argued that Sanji possibly doesn't have the best he's well behind Luffy and Zoro in terms of hockey, you know? That's why Sanji's hardening came from him being gifted an exoskeleton rather than him actually improving his armament. You see, like the like you use Law as an example, and you're like, well, then that's like saying Sanji doesn't have the best armament. It's like, yeah, Sanji so far has not ever been shown to be having like great armament. Last time we saw pre exoskeleton, he was kind of getting fucked up in terms of armament by like characters like Virgo and stuff like that, you know? Again, none of this is to say that Sanji won't have good hockey later, all right? I'm just calling it like it is so far, which is so far, that's not his thing. I think he can get a huge boost. Remember, there was a time where Luffy's armament couldn't even stop fucking Horty Jones, but now look at him, you know? You can't show it with Sanji because of his clothes. That's not a real reason, because Sanji's worn a shit ton of different clothes since then. And he generally has never shown armament. Not armament. We know he has armament. He's never shown the hardening, you know? I mean, we had a full arc, Whole Cake Island, where he was wearing white clothes, like, the majority of the time. Hold on. Taptia thanks the two. The eternal youth of Gorosei / Gunko is the flower room. Ah, that'd be interesting. That's very possible. But I also don't think it's possible. I don't think that's necessarily the case because the Gorosei don't seem to always be in the flower room. You know, it seems like the Gorosei are not normally there. I mean, maybe they are. So is it just Imu chilling in the flower room with the Gorosei? I got the sense that the flower room is more so for Imu than for the Gorosei. Mad God 420, thanks for the 10. Do you think Imu's design mirroring NL, imposing build, bare chest, puffy pants, halo ring, spear, is just Oda's style since Skypiea echoes One Piece, or could NL have seen Imu before? I think it's just Oda's style. Like, he likes to have some things mirror other things, you know? Adrio5, thanks for the 2. Got dunked in a toilet because I wore your merch. Please advise. The merch gives you power. You have the strength of admirals when you are wearing the merch. You should not be getting dunked in toilets. If anything, do what the admirals do and dunk them in toilets. You see the admirals throughout the series? Every time they show up, pre-time skip, the Strats were getting dunked in a toilet. Aokiji, Kizaru, Akainu, it was never good news. So I think you're not accessing the strength of the merch properly. Starts up here. Kakashi Snitch 919, thanks, 925, thanks for the 5. Thoughts of the funniest thing earlier, how Imu's shadow silhouette would look in the live action. I think they're going to work around that to some degree. Otherwise, it's just like a blob. Also, speaking of the merch, I want to remind you all of the great deal that we have right now, particularly with Imu's design. So right now, if you want to get your Imu poster, you can get it in April only. You can get yourself your Imu poster. You can get the Nidhogg poster. You can get the Nika poster. You can get the full God Trio. And we've got a great deal going right now. Buy 2, get 3. So you can buy any 2 posters from any of the collections and you get another 3 free, including the April only ones of Imu, Nidhogg, and Nika. Everything else stays after April, but these 3 are going to be out of the store after April. But you can mix and match however you want. If you want only one of these, that's cool. If you want one of those, 2 island posters, 2 ships posters, that's all good. Any combination of 5 that you want, you can get for the price of 2 posters. So make sure you hop on this deal while you can, and definitely if you want Imu, Nidhogg, or Nika, make sure you jump on that. Mufak Ubisi, thanks for the 7. Yo Morge, does Kagurabachi actually have an interesting plot and deep themes, or is it good just because of fights? I'm still reading it either way. Kagurabachi has, I would say, in my opinion, I think Kagurabachi has the best Is this a lot to say? I think, in terms of a gripping plot, I would say Kagurabachi has, in its first 100 chapters, the most exciting, like, I think it has, in terms of plot, right? Like, so the ability to grip you, want you to keep reading chapter to chapter, continually be hitting you with surprises, but without ever jumping the shark, and make everything feel very coherent and heading in a clear direction, right? And really ramping things up and taking on a roller coaster. I'd say Kagurabachi has the best plot for the first 100 chapters of a series, of a shonen series, that I can think of since Chainsaw Man, in terms of pure plot, like pure plot writing. The plot for Kagurabachi is one of its biggest draws. Definitely one of its biggest draws. It's just like, I don't even know what to say. Once you get deep enough into it, it just keeps ramping, but not just, it doesn't feel like everything's going all over the place. It feels like things come together, and then it hits you with twists and surprises, but at the same time, it doesn't go too crazy with it. Like, it doesn't make you feel like the author's just making shit up. If anything, it feels very well planned. The plot is probably the one of its biggest strengths for sure. Definitely one of its biggest strengths. So I'd say that for sure in terms of plot. In terms of deep themes, I think that this is one of those where I think that I would need to really sit down and read Kagurabachi with the mentality in mind of trying to examine its themes. It does have themes. It's not like a shallow manga. If you want substance, I'd say characters. I'd say it's got some strong character writing. I wouldn't say it's only been 100 chapters, right? So I wouldn't say phenomenal character writing, like right off the bat or anything like that, but over time, several things happen. I enjoy the main character quite a bit. I think the main sort of squad of, like, the main few characters that kind of forms by the end of the first 100 chapters is strong. And there's one character in particular that the first 100 chapters of Kagurabachi, it kind of concludes his story with in a phenomenal manner, and goes out in, like, I don't want to say any spoilers, but what's his name again? Let's see. Yeah, Samurai. I can say the name of the character. Samurai, I think, is an all-time great character. Phenomenal character. The world building and plot is evolving so naturally. Yeah, so I have not started reading. There's a flashback that's began. I read the first couple chapters of the flashback. I'm going to hold off on reading any more. But the world building and plot, yeah, all the in terms of plot, narrative structure, the way the world is expanding, the way that things are being fed to us, that's all perfect. I would argue that's actually the greatest strength of the series beyond its fights. It's got the best plot, like pure beat for beat, like what's happening, like how interesting, exciting is it, how well does it expand, how well does it build. It's got a really, really tight plot. So yeah, I'd say in terms of first 100 chapters for shonen, probably the best, most tight plot writing I can think of for any series, except for Chainsaw Man. I think Chainsaw Man is like the first, like part one of Chainsaw Man, its first 100 chapters is the most fucking insanely brilliant plot you're gonna get in like that short span of a time in a shonen. Like, that's just part two. I'm not gonna say shit about, but part two is whatever. Part one was when he actually wanted to deliver a true story, you know. But yeah, it's like Kagurabachi comes in right after, and whereas Chainsaw Man's more of like a like fuck shonen norms or whatever, and just do like really, really go crazy out of the box, right? In terms of where its plot can go in and take you to like wild places, right? I'd say if you want more traditional shonen type storytelling, but just with the plot really intricately well planned out to keep escalating at a perfect pace, bringing the world together, bringing the ideas together at a perfect pace. If you want the classical shonen type storytelling, Kagurabachi's plot is the best that it's gonna get for its first part. Um, so yeah, if you were to ask me overall, plot, themes, characters, fights, I'd say, judging for first 100 chapters, right? So I'm not expecting it to reach the highs of like a Hunter x Hunter or something in the first 100 chapters. I'm saying by standards of the first 100 chapters of a shonen series, I'd say plot's like a 10. I don't even like going through all this stuff. I'll just say good or bad or whatever, right? So I'd say plot's amazing, fights great, right? Especially the choreography for sure. But in general, fights great for suspense, twists, abilities, stuff like that. Characters, it's got a few real standouts and some, I'd say, especially the main character really grew on me. I think some of the side characters I think are not as fleshed out, but then like the closer you get to the core main side, like main characters, it's good. It's good. And then one standout in particular with Samura, I think we're set up for a great villain. And then themes I'm the most iffy on because it has themes that are good, but I haven't seen anything super deep yet. But we're really early in the story, but it's communicating its ideas. I mean, it's got themes in every storyline, and that's really what matters, right? Alex DeHor, thanks a lot. I recognize that thumbnail. It's made from my sketch. Oh, shit. What? Hold on. Thumbnail artist, we've credited someone on DeviantArt. Are you Z Thundered M? That's who we've credited. I don't do the thumbnail planning for streams. I am involved, obviously, with the thumbnail planning for videos. But we always credit. So we've credited this deviant artist, Z Thundered MM. Is that you, or is this somebody that pulled from you? If so, I am sorry that they pulled from you. But I don't know the origin of the sketch that the thumbnail is then based on. Chillax Rita says, I can't get into Kagurabachi because it's too fucking cringe. The characters are all written chuny as fuck. I don't know what chuny means. And it's just so goddamn edgy, and it thinks itself so cool. I hard disagree. Because I think that's what it feels like early. Like, that's like if you stop reading early on. If you get past... once you get like a few dozen chapters into Kagurabachi, it's not... edgy is like the last word I'd use to describe it. I could see the main character initially being described as edgy, but like, I think that's because his drive is initially revenge or whatever, and it's not like that necessarily changes, but it's not like he's like, I'm out for revenge. Like, he's always talking about how he's out for revenge or whatever. I would never think of Kagurabachi as like an edgy manga that's trying to be like really like in that vein or something like that. I think that's more so if you went along with the memes that were originally surrounding the series, Yeah, I did stop reading early on. Yeah, I think you got to get some ways through. If you get some ways through, there's nothing about it that I would describe as edgy. Like, that's actually one of the last things that I would ever think about for it. The main character, once you read a little bit, I did not like the main character. If you go back and read, because I talked about Kagurabachi as I started the journey on streams. So if you remember, my early feelings about Kagurabachi that I did not like was I did not like the main character. And there's like a little kid character that's there at the beginning too, and I really hated that. I thought it was forced, like try to add a cutesy element or some emotional appeal or something. As I got through it, now my opinions are very different. As you go on, the main character doesn't really talk about revenge that much. He feels more like Chihiro, I actually very much like as a main character. he is a much more he's very level-headed. It's not even like you're reading like about Sasuke or something like that. He's actually a very level-headed, pretty mature main character with a like a good head on his shoulders, if that makes sense. Yeah, pretty mature, level-headed. He thinks things through. He does have moments of, emotion and everything like that, but for me it's a refreshing main character because in shonen you kind of just have to get used to like these main characters are like these super goofy zero like two brain cell ADHD like friendship is the best type like hard on their sleeve type characters, and of course that makes for a lot of really good characters like Luffy and stuff, but at a certain point they've all got such similar energy and it's just variations of the same thing that it's just like it's almost too accepted that that's the norm for shonen. Chihiro I like because I usually don't like that Sasuke Fushiguro type counterpart character, because then I find them to be like edgy and irritating. Chihiro is not an edgy character. He really is just he feels like normalish dude, mature, level-headed, likes to think things through. He's not driven by like some sort of like deep angst or something like that. It's not like I'm watching Guts walk around just like ravaged by the like his hate for Griffith the entire time or something. Chihiro's just a really fun character to follow. He's a great main character, I think. Because I feel you guys like I had the same feelings towards him initially when he's talking about like I look at my scars every day so I wake up with fresh hate. That was what people used to make fun of Kagurabachi a lot now, but that feels very distant from how I view the characters nowadays. I almost view Chihiro as like a less angry version of Batman. That's kind of how he operates. Does that make sense? He's just like, as time goes on, it's a less angry Batman. Because Batman gets angry. um, Goomba Boomba! Thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 42 months, man. How can Oda maintain the tension without killing characters? What can he do to prevent Imu feeling like a bum, i.e. the Gorosei? Let out Evil Morge. Okay, so you really don't need to kill characters. Also, watch out for my video tomorrow. You get a lot of my thoughts on this. But you don't need to kill characters. That's just not... I never even ask for Oda to kill characters. I only ask for him to not pretend to have killed characters. There's even multiple lines, right? So there's pretending to kill a character, but then revealing that you're not actually killing them. And Oda doesn't even do that. He pretends to have killed characters, and then reveals that he didn't kill them, which is very different, right? Because stories pretend to kill characters, but then reveal that they survived. That's different than pretending the characters died, and then revealing they're alive. Oda does the latter. You know, you don't have to kill characters, okay? Because in the past, Oda has created tension many a time with many a, like, when Aokiji, like, when Luffy loses to Crocodile in the desert, there's plenty of tension, even though, and you feel how strong Crocodile is, even though Luffy's obviously not going to die, right? When Aokiji shows up and fucks up the entire crew, nobody dies, but it is a very stressful scenario. Sabaody, right? Sabaody, I think nobody would argue that Sabaody doesn't have like very high tension and is very intense, traumatic experience for the Straw Hats. But it can be intense, traumatic, and like beat the fear of death into them without actually killing anybody, right? You see this throughout the story. The only time characters have actually died in a significant way were Marineford, right? I mean, I guess beyond that, you got like Pedro getting killed by bombs because he blows himself up. Beyond that, Oda doesn't really do that, right? But he still has, there's so many arcs which have high tension. Lucci fucking up the Straw Hats establishes the threat of CP9 back at Water 7. So I don't think Oda needs to kill characters to create tension. I think what you're saying, what does he need to do to prevent Imu feeling like a bum? Let me show you guys. It's actually very simple, because he does it all the time. Like other parts of the story. Don't make them laugh it off. That's all. It's really not complicated. Um, let's see. When did the Gorosei show up? Yeah, when the Gorosei show up, it's genuinely a very dramatic scene. It's a very dramatic scene. Even when Saturn first shows up, you have the Straw Hats all over the island, characters all over the island reacting to the Gorosei or to Saturn's arrival, freaking out about the hockey, and that's fucking Saturn's hockey, right? Um, Luffy's like, there's 5 monsters now. This is intense, right? Crazy atmospheric panel. Right off the bat, the even simple things that you have the Gorosei do, like, how to explain? Tension doesn't necessarily require killing characters, but it does require setbacks. Like, one, how do the heroes feel, right? Like, what's the general feeling? How are you shifting the feeling, right? So it immediately feels like part of it's just design and atmosphere, but it immediately feels like when the Gorosei arrived that things are more serious now, right? Even when like, let's say 1094. Even when like, when does Saturn arrive? I think around here. Yeah, like this is just Saturn, and even when Saturn arrives, something is coming. You have characters getting a little bit stressed. Yeah, like something's coming out of that circle, right? Characters getting stressed creates tension because when the characters feel uncertain, then the whole feel of reading the pages, like what you're feeling as you read the pages changes, right? Um, yeah, like everybody's kind of even Luffy, Zoro, Lucci, they're all getting stressed, right? And then the Gorosei just continues that, right? So the atmosphere that's established, the feeling, the protagonist that's established, right? And two is effectiveness. And effectiveness, a lot of it is just like dealing setbacks to the heroes. This doesn't require killing them. Like, it's the same way that, sports anime, they don't kill anybody, but you're able to, like, everybody's in there with a goal, right? Things that they want to preserve, protect, move forward, right? Everyone has goals. Setting characters back in goals is a way of creating tension, you know? Like, if we saw the fucking Thousand Sunny get blown up, then that would hit us, right? Or if, here's a good example, if Imu took all 3 of the Straw Hats' road poneglyphs, right? That would feel like, holy shit, something. I'm not saying these are things that need to happen, but I'm just giving examples of like, death is just a way to create impact and consequence. But there's so many other things you can do to create impact and consequence, you know? If Imu broke Zoro's swords, like if he broke Wado Ichimonji, that would do that, right? None of these things need to happen, but there's so many things that can be done, right? So this was very effective what Oda had the Gorosei do right away, which was right away the Gorosei all kind of split up. Venus Juro takes out all the pacifistas. Almost all the pacifistas. But he takes out all the pacifistas, right? The pacifistas that were helping defend against the Marines, those are immediately removed in like 30 seconds, right? So that's right away one big thing the Straw Hats had going for them is gone, right? Kielbani now we have the opening, right? So that's a big swing. The dome that was protecting the Mother Flame and stuff like that, that was keeping the bad guys out of the lab. Mars destroys that right away, right? These are things that are effective that are just happening. And then Jupiter eats Luffy. So it's a good roll that the Gorosei are on right away. I think Oda should never have neutered it so fast. And so here's where things go kind of wrong, in my opinion, which is with the Gorosei, the tone changes back to positive too quickly. And from then on, it's bizarre because let's look a little bit. It's just bizarre because Oda does this thing where he keeps showing the Gorosei as like decently strong, but he makes the tone surrounding dealing with the Gorosei very light, and that's what's bizarre. Like let me pull this up. This is like maybe the best example. Where is might have gone too far ahead. Hold on a second, y'all. You guys can see what I'm showing, right? Sometimes I just go on a long tangent and then I don't even realize that I'm not sharing things. Um, where does Luffy punch Warkiri? Oh my god. Okay, I'm several chapters off. Oh my god. Where does Luffy punch Warkiri? When does this happen? Okay, you know what? I think here we go. I went 2 chapters off. Okay, so look at this. So to me, I kind of realized that the Gorosei were doomed to not be viewed as effective by the fandom the moment that Oda did this. All right, which is where the fuck does Luffy punch Warkiri? I swear this fucking happens. Is it at the end of last chapter? Oh my god. Oh my god. All right, at this point, I've scrolled through pretty much all the chapters, so maybe it's at the end of this chapter. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so this is, look, this is where it gets kind of bad. Okay, which is you could ease. It's so easy to portray the Gorosei as like a problem and like make us feel that they're a significant threat if you just tailor the reactions of the characters to how you want the readers to perceive the Gorosei, right? So this is a good moment because like this is Luffy's second go around at trying to damage Warkiri. So he already did Red Rock once, it didn't work. Now he's in Gear 5. He tries again. It doesn't work. That's theoretically a big deal. This is our main character in his strongest form after having, he's fought Kaido, he's fought Kizaru, whatever. Now you're introducing these new villains, the Gorosei, right? And you introduce them with so much fanfare and so much atmosphere and inject so much tension, and they're effective right off the bat, and characters are kind of freaking out about them. But it wears off really fast, and then characters start treating them, especially Luffy, starts treating them like a nuisance, like a joke, right? So Luffy punches Warkiri, and it doesn't work, but the reaction is like a comedy reaction, and Dory and Brogy are like, hey, stop trying to make us laugh. And that right there is just, it's like, it's supposed to feel like a silly moment to the reader, right? So if it feels like, there's so many ways you can play the concept of like, oh my god, Luffy can't hurt Warkiri, right? Remember when Zoro couldn't cut Mr. One, or Zoro couldn't cut King? That creates a lot of tension around this conflict, because now it's like, okay, the hero can't do anything. It's uncertain how the hero can win. Tension comes from uncertainty, right? And the biggest thing that hammers that home is when the hero is feeling stress about the fact that they can't do it. But Oda plays it for laughs, which is like, oh, the fact that Luffy can't damage Warkiri is supposed to be funny. And then I think the next chapter is, Luffy running away. I think even one chapter before he's running away. Where is it? Yeah, like even when they're running away, like Luffy's laughing and stuff like that, right? So, and he's laughing, and not just laughing, he's like literally kicking back and, on his back and everything like that. When you're doing stuff like that, it's a very different vibe than, when the Straw Hats are running away at Saboti Archipelago from, Kizaru and Kuma and stuff like that, right? Here, they're technically still doing the same thing. Okay, we can't damage this guy, we can't do anything, let's run. But the tone doesn't make it feel that serious. So that's really where I think Oda went wrong with I don't even know if he went wrong. I guess he portrayed them with the exact level of scariness that he wanted to portray them. But that's kind of the issue right there, which is you can't make the Gorosei feel like that big of a deal if the main characters aren't treating them like that big of a deal, right? Because you can have the same event happen, which is like, oh my god, I tried to attack this opponent and nothing happened, therefore I had to run. You can have that happen, and on paper it's like, oh my god, that would really make that new villain feel like a big threat. But depending on how you portray the character's responses to it, it's kind of just like, oh, well, that's just a thing that happened, It's not really that big of a deal. So, I mean, that's a long monologue about that, but it is, yeah. It is important to just understanding why, why Oda needs to go a different route with Imu, right? And I think it's already happening. Like, the reactions to Imu are very different than the reactions to the Gorosei. Anyway, continuing on. Tiptia, thanks for the 2 Kagurabachi updates. Are you reading the current arc? I'm gonna let it pile up. One Piece is the only series that I currently read weekly, like, religiously. I think even other series that I'm enjoying, like, I was enjoying Chainsaw Man Part 2, but I generally prefer to let some chapters pile up and then read them in one go. Same with Kagurabachi. One Piece fan 74, thanks to 5. If Sanji's going to be an Advanced Conqueror's Haki user, I generally don't understand all the cyborg power-ups. Seems redundant. That was my angle for a long time. Because I was like, if you need Sanji to be tougher, just have him get better at, like, black Haki armament. Just give him better armament Haki. That's all. Like, why did you instead skip the arc where you could have learned that and give him an exoskeleton instead when it does the same thing? You know, it makes you physically tougher, you know? He could have just done that, but he went with the exoskeleton route. I don't know why Oda does some things, but maybe just like that idea. Tiptio Treviso, thanks to 2. Specifically, Eternal Youth applies to Pangea Castle. Maybe that makes sense. I guess maybe that makes sense. Maybe that explains why the Gorosei in general don't go down that often. Let's get stream likes up to 100 real quick. Radin V1, thanks to the 5. I think the yokai form is only grantable if the ability slot isn't already filled by a fruit. Gunko is level 3, but the arrow fruit means no Zoan form. That's totally possible, but I think it also could just be that Oda, just for simplicity's sake, just made it convenient that, because he didn't want the Gorosei to have multiple abilities, so he might have just been like, yeah, well, they weren't fruit users, but Oda gave him this ability or something. Magnus9450, thanks to the 5. How long until Sanji and Zoro are back? Are you Magnus, like... Our image finder was Magnus for years, but I don't know if this is your account, so I'm just going to assume it's not, unless you tell me otherwise. Magnus9450, thanks to the 5. How long until Sanji and Zoro are back, and what do you predict is next for them in the arc? I think that a lot of the struts that are going down right now, Zoro, Sanji, Brook, Usopp, I think they will be back up. I think we're looking at the rough part of the fight. Watch tomorrow's video, but I think they will be back up. How long? I don't think it'll be like next chapter necessarily that they'll be back in the action, but like maybe a few chapters. Kyo Beats 5161, thanks to the 2. Imu staff is similar to Nami staff. I don't know about that. I guess it shoots things out, so actually that is a similarity right there. Let's get into Imu's abilities. That's what this stream is supposed to be about. Enough of this nonsense over here about strongest swordsman and strongest yada yada. All right, Imu's abilities. All right? All of Imu's abilities from the start, right? This is kind of an absurd list. This is low-key turning into one of the most powerful, like one of the most not powerful is not the right word, like varied ability sets in fiction that or manga that I've seen, right? Because if let's just start from the beginning, okay? So let's say Eternal Youth is a thing. Let's say Eternal Youth, okay? Let's say that. So basic, right? Eternal Youth, okay. Shadow form. Invulnerable to or regenerate from all damage. No exceptions so far. Okay. Basic stuff so far. Teleportation via abyss. Not via penta. I was going to say telegrams. This is the simple stuff, right? Grant grant power boost and regeneration to subordinates. grant Zoan transformations to subordinates, right? I should add mythical zone. Instantly heal subordinates and give additional boost. Hold on. Telepathic communication with subordinates. All right, so this is all subordinate related stuff, right? Immediately convert, I guess, convert enemies into puppets with amplified powers. Create armies of puppets that create more puppets for you. This is a lot so far. All right, let's hold on. JWP, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member. For 40 months, man. Morch, man, long time no see. Haven't been able to show up and stream for a while due to work. No worries, man. Thank you for being a long-time supporter. Listening in the car instead, usually vid streams and both podcasts make up most of my driving time. Thanks, Goat. Thank you, JWP. Thanks for the long-time support, man, and I'm glad that we can continue to entertain. To Tio Treviso, and always good to see you drop through streams, man. I hope you're enjoying your new job. To Tio Treviso, thanks for the Gorosei and Egghead had less tension than Ulti. I don't know about that. I don't think less tension than Ulti. To Tio Treviso, thanks for the 2. Morch's on his dementia arc since he mixed Pirate King subs? Wait, did I mix something up? I mixed Pirate King subs? What? Wait, what? I'm confused. What does that mean? Remember last stream? Oh, did we already talk about this last stream? Wait, did we already talk about this last stream? Oh my god. My bad, guys. My bad. Did we straight up go over the Gorosei situation last stream? Wait, what do you mean since I mixed Pirate King subs? Oh, I thought you said Law would give Blackbeard the Eternal Youth, which was an entire different submission from a different person. I got you, man. All right. No, I do remember that. Mufaka Busi, thanks for the 2. Oh, this is a Kagurabachi spoiler, kind of. I'll just say, does the blank have goat villain potential? Yeah, I mean, there's always potential. I think that he's already set up to be, like, already a really, really great, cool villain to me. Already a really cool villain. But, you know, Shonen's got a lot of really, really great villains. And obviously, beyond Shonen, other series as well. I think as far as Shonen villains go, I like that he seems like he's potentially the final villain and being set up very early. And great presence, great potential backstory, crazy abilities, design, fighting style, potential dynamic with the hero. Yeah, I'd say I don't know about GOAT potential, but definitely a great villain early on. Didn't he teleport? Can he teleport without the pentagrams? Dia thanks to 2. Is this going to be, is it Eternal Youth or not stream? No, I kind of want to leave that. We'll just wait till we find out. The final villain debate in Kagurabachi is very interesting. I thought we already know the final villain. Um, I thought that's pretty clear who the final villain is, personally. But I haven't read the most recent chapters, the backstory chapters. Look at the beginning of the latest chapter. He teleported. Did he teleport or is he just fast? Okay, yeah. Now let's get into the other stuff. All right. Um, Spearmanship, super speed, uh, top tier conquerors hockey. Okay. Flight. Okay. Black flame attacks. Bringing inanimate objects to life. I'm confused about... Okay, so let's take a look at this. So he shoots these little devil things out of his... and I haven't read the... I kind of want to read the Viz translations for the newest chapter. I haven't read them. Let's see. But here. Yeah, Omen. He's always interested in who the king of the land is. He's already asked this before, so I don't know what's going on with this dude. He does seem to teleport, right? Is it a teleportation that happens right here? Poof. I think it is teleportation. I'm going to write that. I think that's a teleportation. Okay. Teleportation via pentagram. Teleportation long distance via pentagrams. Teleportation. No, I'll just, that feels a little redundant. Let's just say teleportation. Who do you think you are? Yeah, he's got super speed, yada yada. Omen, so he uses Omen black flame attacks or whatever. Yeah, so for some of them, he has explosions, right? So Zoro's attack didn't seem to carry an explosion, but the ones that are living beings seem to carry explosions. Explosive projectiles, I guess you could say. Yeah, explosive projectiles. So that's the other category, it looks like. Explosive projectiles. What does he do against Sanji? Sanji, we get the explosion even without... Yeah, he's teleporting here, right? Is he teleporting? Can you just teleport wherever? I can't tell. This is crazy. Kick Sanji, we get an explosion. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with the explosions. Okay, let's put explosive projectiles. Okay. Shizer, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 6 months, man. Hope you're having a great day, Morge. He can also possess subordinates. You're right. Possess subordinates. See with Gunko and Saturn at God Valley. Possess subordinates as avatars. I want to separate this stuff out as to what he can do with subordinates versus what he can do himself. Lawyer's Burger, thanks to 2. Nika's fantasy equals Devil's Playground would be cool. Devil's Play. Oh, that'd be cool. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Like kind of this wacky world. Teleportation, creation of weapons. Forgot about that. He can create weapons out of that book, which is wild. I think it's all the flame and he can just do whatever he wants with it. Yeah, so let's sort this a little bit. So what we're looking at right now, so I kind of just wrote down everything. If you think of more things, let me know. Let's get streamlights up to 100 real quick. So I kind of just went broad. He can summon a grimoire. Yeah, but I want the grimoire. Like, so far I want to list the things that he can do, if that makes sense. Like, summoning the grimoire seems to be a setup to let him do other stuff, right? So summoning the grimoire on its own doesn't really mean anything. So all of Imu's abilities, right? So let's start with Bell. If I do this, what happens? Okay. So we've got Eternal Youth. That's its own thing, right? We've got so subordinate. I guess I'll just write subordinates. We'll come up with a better title for it later. Okay. So with subordinates, he can do this. He can do this. He can do this. Okay, those are the main things to do with his subordinates, right? Then shadow form. So in shadow form, regenerate from all damage. Convert enemies into puppets. Oops. Can't be countered by hockey. Because he can do it to characters like rocks and stuff like that. Combat form, right? So in his combat form, he has the creation of weapons. I don't know where that falls under. Oh, possessing subordinates as avatars. I feel like he could probably do creation of weapons anywhere, right? Creation of weapons, spearmanship, super speed. Yeah, I think this is a pretty comprehensive look at what all he can do right now, right? Arrowtail, he ate Sabo's flame. That's not significant enough to be a feat. Is the tail of, I guess, Arrowtail 5. Yeah, we could add that in. His Seraphim eyes follow enemies around. Oh, where does that happen? Pool of Dead 3088, thanks for the 5. Do you think Dragon being left out of Imu's thoughts last chapter signifies he's actually kind of mid and not that strong? No, I just think that Imu's thinking about major events. I think Imu's concerned with stuff that feels tied to Joy Boy stuff and prophecy, and I think that the characters he recalled seem to loop into that sort of prophecy thread, and I think Dragon's kind of his own thing. TomTom says, why is super speed even on there when every top tier is super speed? I guess you could argue that, but he's faster. From what it seems like, he seems like faster than... like, I would put that down for Venus Juro, but I wouldn't necessarily put that down for Big Mom or something. Like, he seems a lot faster than other characters. Since Imu's title did not include sea or earth god, do you think it's likely he actually isn't one of the 4 gods? Yeah, I think he's the sea devil. I think that's his fruit. I think he's the sea devil. He's got the sea devil fruit. I think there should be a separation between Dami Reversi subordinates and Abyssmark subordinates. Yeah, I think we kind of got that. Like, so Dami Reversi so far seems to be an ability that he uses in his shadow form. Right? So shadow form. No, that's not true, because he did it when possessing. I don't know. But this is the Dami Reversi stuff. Convert enemies into puppets with amplified powers. Create armies of puppets that create more puppets for you. His shadow form I count as also possessing subordinates. You know what? I'm going to move this. Possess subordinates as avatars. I think this makes more sense as being part of his shadow form abilities. This is more like things that he does to help his subordinates, if that makes sense. This is more like stuff that's more him. So for him, it's a convenient ability to be able to transfer into this subordinate and then swap out to that subordinate or whatever. Does Uranus count? No, we're going with only his abilities. Logia-like materiality. I've got regenerate from all damage, no exceptions so far. Because it seems like he can be hit. He's just... could just write, like, intangibility. But he's not really intangible because he can be hit. He's just regenerating from everything. Imu can heal people. I have instantly heal subordinates and give additional boost. TomTom says, Morch, why have you been saying Omen is a buff? To me, it just looks like he healed Somers and killing him. You're right. It's not confirmed if Omen is a buff. Let me read the viz if it says anything. It's not confirmed Omen is a buff. I think one of the reasons it seemed like it could be a buff is because Somers was so happy to get it. So it's not like he just said, oh, I got healed. He's like, ah, yes, Omen. So I feel like he's excited to be in possession of it. Because if he's got it like this, then it's like he's healed now, so why is it not going away? Make haste Somers, just there's a little time. And also, I buy into the idea that the man marked by flames probably has an omen. And if that's the case, then if the man marked by flames has an omen, then omen must do something, you know? And I think part of it is just like the way Imu and Somers leave. You know, this doesn't mean that Somers got a boost. Like, Somers in theory should already have been strong. But it kind of feels like, damn, maybe Somers is moving a little different now. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. Somers was happy because he was in pieces and someone's holding his heart prior. Yeah, I think we need a little more clarification. It's the fact that, as Stormy says, the Flame Halo stayed around in post-healing, so it's like, okay, is it doing something else? Because now Somers is back in one piece. He still has it. I think it's a lingering effect. Yeah, I don't know. Lend Me Some Hockey ended up becoming Rios' Ender. Yeah. The fact that it stays odd, I think, is the biggest clue that it's a buff. Yeah, I would just lean towards that. If I had to guess, I would just lean towards it being a buff. But you're right, it might not actually be a buff. I would prefer, like, for me, preference-wise, I don't like the idea that Imu can give another buff to the Gods Knights. Because it just, I don't know. It just dilutes the whole concept of, like, okay, does it even matter then how strong a Gods Knight is? They're just like a product of how much power Imu is pumping into them. And also makes it hard to, like, even gauge them, because it's like, okay, Somers is around this strong, but then you get an Omen, so now it's another boost on top of the boost you already have, so how strong is he now? What would Herald with an Omen have looked like? What would Rocks with an Omen have looked like? It just opens up so much stuff that I personally just don't like. Sorry, let me respond to one thing. Yeah, that's a personal. Maybe some people like that Imu can keep buffing him. I don't know. Henchme987, thanks for the 2. I bet Devil Fruit weaknesses don't affect Imu. I will always say that I think it's really crazy that One Piece is this world where there is like a hard weakness for fruit users, and fruit users make up such a large percentage of One Piece characters, right? Strong characters in particular. But that weakness of Sea Stone is almost never ever utilized in combat. Like almost never. It's utilized for restraining after someone's been defeated, but it's not used like period. Like Garp's not walking around with Sea Stone brass knuckles or something like that, or no characters have a Sea Stone sword, even though that apparently would be something very easy to create. It's just interesting because you think about it, like in Superman stories, right? Kryptonite and Sea Stone are basically the same thing. In Superman stories, Superman's so powerful, the fact that there's a clear weakness in the form of kryptonite is an essential part of Superman's storytelling, right? The fact that a weakness exists, that becomes the go-to thing for characters to try to figure out how to exploit as much as possible against Superman, right? In One Piece, there's like countless characters that are like Superman. They all have the same weakness. It'd be like if the entire Justice League, fuck the entire Justice League, Teen Titans, like almost all these characters were also all weak to kryptonite, but then for some reason nobody ever used kryptonite. It's just that's not crossing anybody's minds on how to use it. It's not on their radar. I'm not saying it's like a plot hole in One Piece. It's just like what the author prefers to portray. Random guy JV8CJ, thanks for the 5. I think Omen may allow Sommers in killing him to wield black flame abilities as well. Oh, that would be cool. Also, pros and cons living in a house compared to apartment. I think we'd be coming up at about a month now of living in this house. I've lived in apartments my whole adult life, right? So, I've lived in apartments my whole adult life. This is the first time we're renting a house, right? I would say the biggest difference. I like the house a lot better, and I thought that I wouldn't necessarily feel that way, but I do like the house a lot better. I like the space. I love that we got a yard, so it makes it a lot better for the dogs. It just is inherently spacious. Like it's going to be rare that even the biggest apartments are comparable to the size of the house, right? Apartments are great for if you want to be close to like downtown or in downtown or something like that. Or the good news is the house we're in, we still are, so we haven't really traded that up too much. So that feels good. I think apartments, it's going to be easier to get locations that are good to hotspots. So that helps a lot. I think if you're living solo, apartment is much better, because you only need so much space, and then you've got everything kind of tight, and you can focus more on location. In terms of the actual living experience, I think I like that with a house, you're just like a little bit more separate from, neighbors and stuff like that. It's not like in the apartment we ever were expecting to but like, you leave your apartment, you're walking down just the corridor or whatever, you're just passing other people and stuff like that. You go downstairs, upstairs, yada, yada. So I think I didn't mind that or care about that, but now that I feel like a little bit more isolated and, in an island, I think that feels good. Obviously, it's not like we're totally cut off. Like there's a house next door, there's a house next door there's a house across the street, etc. But it's just different in that, like, when you're in an apartment, there's just people. Like you can hear people crossing the halls in all hours. Our apartment wasn't super loud or anything. It's not like we were being awoken by that, but there's just a general subconscious awareness that there are more people, right? I like this. This feels more peaceful to me in my head. And I'd say the biggest thing, though, is the downsides is with the house, you're responsible for more things, whereas the apartment, it was the reverse. Apartment, anything breaks down, anything, whatever, not working, yada, yada, they're immediately on it. They take care of that. They give you more amenities, right? They're like, here, you want some free come down here, get free coffee, right? There's events and stuff that happen in the building, right? So they're putting out free food or free dinners and stuff sometimes. There's stuff like pool, like you got the swimming pool, you got other stuff, right? So apartment gives you as many amenities as possible. It feels like with the house now everything is even though we're renting, a lot of stuff is on us, right? So the yard, like in terms of watering plants, stuff like that. I haven't had to do that stuff yet, but it's coming up on that time that I will likely have to start doing that stuff. Mowing the lawn, taking out the trash. Before at the apartment, you just put trash outside of your apartment in a designated bin, and then they'll take care of that, right? Here, you got to remember when it's trash week or trash day, take the trash out to the road. Little stuff like that. Pest control will become our job once that if we have a pest problem and stuff like that. Even changing the filters, the air filters, that's us. So I think right now I'm in the honeymoon period of moving into the house because right now I'm mainly enjoying the extra space, the yard, a little bit more just sense of isolation, like you're on an island. I'm never going to expect interaction with someone in a given day if I don't want it. But the upcoming things for the house are around the corner, so soon I will have to start doing more yard stuff, right? Like be more aware of like pest control. If things break, it's on us, stuff like that, right? So that's the differences so far. If you ask me in a few months after I've gotten used to having to actually take care of stuff, then it'll be different. Home ownership sounds like a real nightmare. I do want that at some point, but that's going to be something like I would maybe in the next, I don't know what set of years, but we right now are not interested. We only want to buy a house if we're like, yeah, this is the house that we're going to want to be in for like years and years and years and years, like a decade or something like that, you know? So for that, I think that that's still a little bit of ways away, right? I think right now we don't even know if we're going to be staying in this city necessarily for more than another year. Regal Void says, what kind of apartments give out food and have events? It depends. Like the first apartment complex that I moved to when I was in this city was definitely not like that. But the last one that we moved into, well, I lived in the last apartment complex that I was in. I lived in there for myself for about a year, and then my partner, then she moved in as well. That's when we transitioned from a one bedroom to a two bedroom there. It was a nicer apartment complex. Like it was a really good one. We wanted to kind of live, you know, we were willing to spend more on that apartment complex because it was good in a lot of ways. It was right next to downtown. It was right across one of the biggest parks in our neighborhood. It was right next to lots of big stores and stuff like that. It was really, really good. It was very expensive. It cost a lot more than an apartment should, in my opinion. But because they're aware of the price point for that, that also leads into additional amenities that they're giving you, you know? That being said, over time, that wasn't necessarily, like, it was kind of just like, this stuff is nice, but we would rather just have the more space, you know? And then we still really like the new location. And it is more comfortable living overall. Mortgage moves every year, says Damien, right? You know why? Because like people have called that out. I know I've got some supers to catch up on. People have called that out, and I kind of just took that as normal for a long time that I'm moving every year. I think it's because like the longest I stayed in an apartment was probably the first apartment that I moved to in this city, and you can go through my streams, and that was when my background was much further back, if that makes sense. Like I was streaming towards one part of the room, and then far behind me was a wall, and that's what, like that wall was when I eventually painted gray and stuff like that, and got the posters on there, and there was the bookshelf, and you know, you remember that whole era. I think I lived at that apartment for about 2-ish years, and I think 2 and a bit more maybe, and I already felt like that was a bit long. It's not like I like moving. I hate the process of moving, but I always feel like, oh, if we could find, you know, a good deal to upgrade to better. Like I always like the idea of you know, being able to improve your living situation if you can. So that's why it's kind of went in that direction. It's I don't think in my head I'm like, oh, I want to be moving all the time, but I do like the idea of like, oh, if there's a good option here or something, then it feels good to like, okay, get more space, get like a bigger situation or whatever. So change location to even better one. So if the opportunity is there, I like doing that, but it's really not needed, you know. Tapio Treviso, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 12 months, man. Thanks for the long time support. Thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for a year. Is Imu the man marked by flames? You said the man marked by flames should be someone that Luffy has to fight to get the final Roadstone before the race goes to the One Piece begins with the final war. I think Imu's fitting it. The problem is that the man marked by flames is somebody that sails around the ocean. You know, they sail around on a black ship and like create whirlpools and stuff. So to me, that suggests it's more likely a God's Knight who is gifted an omen. Because it sounds like Imu really doesn't do much outside of stay in Marijua. Unless this is a dude that Imu's always fucking like possessing, but I think that's less like. I think a God's Knight is more likely, but it would be a crazy twist if it turned out to be Imu himself and he just likes to like, moonlight as a fucking pirate going around the seas or whatever on a ship, because he can easily possess people from afar, so maybe that's possible, but I don't know. JWP, thanks for gifting 10 memberships. Holy shit, man. Thank you so much. We all really appreciate that. Of course, everybody in chat, big shout outs to JWP, even if he can't join streams as frequently as before. We do obviously all really appreciate, and obviously me especially, you coming through whenever you can to just gift out some memberships. So that's really appreciated, man. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, really appreciate that, man. Thanks a lot. Yeah, just shouts in the chat for JWP, everybody, especially if you just got a membership, just give him some shout outs. Everybody show your appreciation, because he's really done this a lot over the years. Henchme987 says, I pay like 1,000 for a studio now, it's all I need. So you know what's funny is like, I used to be really, so like, in terms of, and we are going to have to call stream soon, actually, after this, because we're going out to dinner. But I used to I used to feel like I almost didn't need anything, and I really don't. I don't need lots of items, but shifting space to just be a little bit more spacious has generally felt good each time. Because if you track my trajectory, right? So when I first moved out, that was, you guys can go watch the videos on this. That was when I lived in the office, right? So I didn't even technically have an apartment. I secretly slept in the office space that my business partner had rented, right? So that was for a year. That was what we called the homeless arc, right? I wasn't actually homeless. I had a family home that I could go leave back to and leave the city, and I would have had a landing place, obviously, but this was me moving out, and that was the best that I could do. I could afford like a little bit, but not really enough to pay rent year to year, so this is our business phase. So he just was like, okay, don't let anybody else know, but you're allowed to sleep here, right? So at that point in time, I didn't even have a room. I had a converted room where like during the day, it was like our office room, and then at night, my two business partners would leave, and then I would just fold out the futon, put stuff on there, and then sleep there, right? And at that point in time, I was like, this is all I need. I feel good with this, right? Then the next apartment I moved to was with two of my friends. Okay, so this was during COVID time. This was when I could finally pay rent. Couldn't pay too much rent, but I could pay it was like less than 1,000. I think I paid like 900 a year. I forget. Yeah, so the three of us stayed in an apartment, and at that point in time, they all had rooms with like lots of stuff in them. I didn't have a bed, I had a futon, and I had a desk, and I didn't have a chair for the desk. I pulled out, there's like a lawn chair type thing that the previous owners had just left on the roof, so I just took that, and I made that my chair. And that's pretty much my room. I had no wall decor or anything, just bed, desk, lawn chair, that's it. And I was like, I'm good with this. The only thing I didn't like was having roommates, because I wanted the common area I didn't like having to exit. Even though these were both my friends, I just, if I'm in a zone where I want to be to myself, I don't want to have to go out and make conversation, right? Then moved to an apartment here, and this was my first own apartment, and then that was nice because now I've got a living room to myself, kitchen to myself, bedroom, bathroom, and then I had a separate room for workspace, and then that was good. And I really loved that. That was the longest I stayed in a place. That was 2-ish years. And while I loved it the first year, second year I started to feel like there's small things that I wish would be improved. I want the does that make sense? Like then you start to notice the small things where you're like, it's a little too close to the road, so sometimes on noisy days, like I get awoken by stuff. It's the shower pressure wasn't great, the bathroom was a little small. There's just some things you start to notice, right? And then you want to shift. So then I shifted to the next place. This is the nice apartment that I told you guys about. That was a big shift because everything just felt more polished. It gives you a good mental boost just changing your living space. And I used to think that I wouldn't need anything like that, but it starts to just be a thing where like changing your living space really can perk up your general feeling in life, if that makes sense, you know? So sometimes it's good just to do, because you can get caught in like just feeling like, well, this is good enough for a long time, and then kind of underestimate how good you feel when you actually bump up to something, and then you're like, whoa, this actually, I didn't think that this would change much, but it does. That's how I feel in the house right now. I feel really good, just overall being in here. I don't know. King GG6681, thanks to the 2. The man marked by flames is just Quina with an oven. That is not outside the realm of possibility. Bed plus launcher setup undefeated? Yeah. Lime be lime, thanks for the 5. One Piece villains usually aren't from where they conquer, Dofi and Arlong. If Imu's king of the world, could he be from beyond the planet, like hell/space? That is a very good point. That is entirely possible. That is very, very possible. It's just that once you get to the world, like conquering the whole world, then it's like, well, damn, yeah, like either you are from the planet or you just came from somewhere else. Being a Lunarian, I think, like, the potential of him being a Lunarian, which is still, that's still there as a possibility, that could very well be a thing. So I think we're just going to have to wait and find out. But you've got a good point. That's a good observation. Taptio Trevisa, thanks to 2. If you were in India, I think you are... What the fuck? Taptio, I think that's going a little far. I think that's going a little far there. Where did that come from, man? What the fuck? Henchme987, I miss splitting a $1,400 a month 2-bedroom, which was infested with roaches. Good times. Yeah, so the first place I stayed in the office, that had a rat problem. So that was the biggest thing. So I've talked about that, I think, on one stream. Not the original homeless stream, but the rat situation was its own whole thing. Because this was in Baltimore. Baltimore is a huge rat problem. And this was in the part of Baltimore where that was a thing. So there was, the room that I was in was carpeted, but there was a hole where it's like a hole that doesn't feel like you wouldn't think it's a big hole, but like there's a hole in the carpet, right? And at some point at night, because I would sleep on the futon, I began to like hear something moving around, and then over time I began to realize that it's a rat. Okay, but when I'm sleeping at night, the last thing and like it's pitch black, the last thing I want to do is get up, wander around the room to find like a rat, And what I realized is that like I had a little trash can. It was like a small trash can. I realized that the rat would usually probably go and jump into the trash can at night. Like rats can jump. So I could hear it scurry and then like jump into the trash can, eat, and then exit the trash can. And for a while, I was just like kind of in the middle of like, what should I do in this? Because like I would have these nightmares of the rat choosing to eat me at night. Like come to my bed, jump in, and like eat my throat or something like that. That would happen on occasion. So I was just like, okay, let me just make sure the trash can's always empty. And that was the best that I could do. But sometimes I could hear it come out regardless. And so this became a stress point for me for a while. And then eventually I realized and I did certain things to try and close up the hole. But it would like gnaw through or whatever. And then eventually, like, we did something hardcore, which was like, okay, guys, like, there's a rat here that comes through this hole. This needs to just be fixed. So then I think we did something a bit more permanent in terms of closing it up. So that helped a lot. But this was like a several month period. That wasn't good. I didn't like that. All right. We are going to call it a day here because I do got to jump off soon. Everyone just dogging on Tiptia. Yeah, Tiptia, that was a bit too far. I think that's you got to check yourself there, man. Beyond that, I think we're gonna call it a day here, just because time-wise, got to start getting ready to head out for dinner. But thanks for tuning in, everybody. I guess we will get just more clarification on Imu's abilities later down the line. But if you just look at the full roster, it is kind of insane, right? This is pretty insane, the amount of things that he can do. It's a lot before you even get to the combat form. And then in the single chapter that we've seen him in the combat form, this is like a crazy lineup of powers. And I would guess that he hasn't shown us everything just yet. So this is like several different characters, full ability sets just wrapped up into one dude. All right, everybody. We are going to call it here. Thank you all for tuning in. And yeah, with that, I will talk to you all later. Watch out for tomorrow's video.